Um, one thing to note here that I'm running out of time, but I want to make sure that I cover is that this is another thing that we get, I'm not IT, or we don't have an IT department for sole proprietors or people that just really don't have access to to teams like that. There's some things that you guys need to be aware of on your systems. And for you guys that are old school AutoCADers, you probably do some of this, like dumping your temp directory, frequently to make sure that your system is running up to par, getting rid of backup files and things like that. I always make the analogy that, Revit is, and your computer, or if you were a race car driver, it would be your race car, right? And, you need to change the oil and fuel it up every now and then to make sure that it's running efficiently, or so that you can win the race. When you're working in our industry, it's the same thing for no matter what discipline you are. Your computer is your workhorse, right? It's what you use every day to make your life your life easier when you're drawing and when you're designing. And if you're not aware of what's on how to maintain it or what to do with it, ask or get with somebody in house. Maybe bring it up in a meeting to make sure that everybody's aware, what to do in here. And again, one thing that you can do, everybody can do together as a group, is audit, right? Audit the models. If you just audit, that's doing at least something. Backup files, I'll show you what these are. Like in my directory here, look at my my Revit directory. When you're working on a project all by yourself, look at this file here. That's the same model, but these are backup files or back files, BAKs or autosaves in AutoCAD, right? But look at the file size over here. That can pile up in a directory or on a computer, and that could take up a lot of your C drive or whatever resources you have available. So you as a user can do some things in the project, like these backups I get rid of and clean up. You don't want to do that unless you know what you've asked somebody about, best practices in-house. But you can do all this, and you need to make sure that you do adhere to certain things. Also, down here on your what we call the desktop app manager, right? Keep your software up to date. This is kind of like a tune-up. You need new plugs, new oil change, change it every 3,000, 36,000, or 3,600 miles, whatever, right? In Revit, you have updates that are sent out periodically, AutoCAD as well. So, and it's all being managed online now, and it's there for you guys to make sure you stay up to date with the latest and greatest fixes. And then don't be the only one doing it, because you want to make sure that the rest of the team has all the updates as well, right? So be up to date, and that's in your desktop app. So make sure that you guys have a procedure for this as well. The last thing that I'll show you here is the Windows thing, and I use this all the time. It's called the disk cleanup, and that might be something that you guys again can bring up to your IT or to people in-house to kind of help you make sure that this is ran, often on your computers, especially if you're running anything AutoCAD or Autodesk, because it puts a file in what we call the temp directory. It writes it in here, and there is a there is a forum for the biggest temp directory out there in the US, and these things can get up to the gigs, hundreds of gigs, and this should only be in the megabytes in here. So if you guys Google Autodesk temp directory, it'll give you your IT people an explanation on why this needs to be done, right? And how this is going to help with resources on your computer. So this is kind of like the tune-up for your system and the tune-up for your Revit, right? You go to your account settings, or you can go down here to your desktop app manager, and it'll find all updates that are that you'll need for your software. Now, the last thing for you guys that are AutoCADers and to Revit, let me see here. For you guys that are new to Revit, one thing that you can take advantage of, let me get out of this, is here under resources on the recent screen. You have the what's new videos, essential skills videos, app store, getting started. This one is kind of my first lesson in my training. Is everybody asked me the books for a book in Revit, but why have a physical book that you'd have to carry around that's 5 inches deep, right? When you have a digital book available to you for free. You hit the question mark in Revit, right? And here, what's new, getting started, right? I've got a Revit fundamentals, beginners workflows. I got beginner workflow for architecture and MEP, right? For you guys that are self-taught, or that like to kind of pick things up on your own, and you kind of learn on your own and by being given documentation or reading articles and things like that, this help menu has everything you need to know and then some. Here is the search engine, so you can, it's like Google for Revit, right? You basically just type in how to draw a wall. There it is. Everything I need to know is screencasts, YouTubes. You can take advantage of this. And this, again, most people out there do not take advantage of this stuff, and you guys should, because it's all here. It's all available to you. And with some good, solid training, all of these processes and this experience can be a lot, can be a lot easier to do when you understand, the proper workflows, how to get started correctly, and what roadblocks that most people are already experienced for you to avoid, right? And again, that all comes with a good, strong team. So some keys here to success that I've seen, again, for firms that are successfully currently implementing or working in a Revit and have been already and cut the AutoCAD cord. Basically, I have firms now that don't even allow AutoCAD on your computers. There's always AutoCAD, I guess, for a couple stations that have for legacy projects or legacy data, but for the most part, most firms are all Revit these days. Some keys here that I've seen to make things successful is acceptance from the highest level up, right? You need buy-in from the top down. If there's no buy-in from the top down, it's really going to cause rifts inside in this implementation. It really kind of can set you back quite a bit, often. So having acceptance from the top down really kind of sets the pace, and it really helps with the implementation. Communication and vision, right? You have to kind of visualize, and you have to talk to each other now a little bit more, kind of make sure that you ask each other questions, make sure that everybody's in the know, understands what's going on with these projects in Revit and how it's being implemented in-house. Once that's taken care of, and like I said, you've gone through a couple of projects, you should be good to go. Everything kind of, all your questions should be answered by yourselves eventually. Model management, project management, it'll make or break a project. If you're not auditing, if you're not purging, if you're not using proper templates, right? All of that kind of stuff really can make or break a project. One good thing is that if you can communicate clearly all of your goals and protocols, that really can be, it's just, somewhere, put it up somewhere online or on the network that people can access, or even put it in a Revit project. Look up on my screen real quick. Let me, I know we've got a couple minutes here. See, which one is it? It's not this one. I think it's this one here. Give me 1 second. I think it's this one. There's what we call a start view. You can create a starting view in Revit that has, it's a drafting view basically. That's kind of like a bulletin board or a message board. You can put, anything you need to put in here, and it's just an updated bulletin board that when you start a project, I can set it up in here so that every time I save this project, or every time I get out of it, and when I get back into it, I save it to this view. When I get back into that model, it should open up to that starting view every time. So it gives you a place to put in, good information, tips of the day, deadlines, people contacts, also the version of the software that you're in, right? Because you cannot save as, you can't go backwards in Revit like you can in AutoCAD. So the version is important. What if this is one of the ones that I do in my training classes, is that I put the version really big like this, so that when I set the starting view here to this view, and I save it and get out of it, in my thumbprint or my thumb picture image here, it's obvious that it's the latest version and I don't accidentally upgrade the project, right? So that's another little kind of area within the program that will allow you to communicate, your information and protocols to the rest of the team. Make sure everything is clarified with everybody, what our deliverables are, right? What is the end result here? And of course, the biggest key to success in Revit or Revit implementation are your templates. Templates really make the world go round in Revit, and it's one thing that we had templates in AutoCAD that were really neat, but in Revit, it's really essential, especially